Jim Duke Radio Network.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
Well, join me. I'm going to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
All right, so the topic tonight, we have guest Mike. Do you go by Mike Toon?
Yeah.
All right, Mike Toon's with us. He's going to represent the Globies. Darrin is going to represent the flat earthers. And I've got questions for both because I'm going to be the neutral one, the unbiased one, only because, frankly, I have a problem with both. so it'll probably be good for me to just field the questions, or you guys can pose the questions on each other. But it's a polarizing subject, and there's some on each side of it, and it's a topic I've regretted to bring up. Tried to avoid the conversation as long as possible because I don't really have a skin in the game. I haven't made a decision of which is the most plausible, if you want to say that. It's a controversial subject, and to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't know, besides a layman way to look at it, I wouldn't know anything to rebuttal if you brought up some scientific objections because it sounds plausible if somebody brings up scientific jargon and says that it because of the this and that, and I wouldn't know. So I'm going to bring up some lame, childish rebuttals probably, or questions. And obviously, the official narrative of NASA is determining a globe, and the flat Earth is that NASA brings up a fabrication, and we can't trust NASA because they are conspiracists, or such. But I don't know if that's a good enough argument to disprove things. So let's look at it as far as what I would ask. Now, for as long as we knew, we've accepted that the Earth is a globe. I mean, as long as we knew, maybe up to 10 years ago even, many people never disputed this. Is that fair to say, Darrin?
Yeah, I'd say so, pretty much.
All right, so nobody accused the other of having illegal, ill, or naive thoughts. It was just over the past several years that something changed that challenged the official narrative, and now flat Earth and everyone who doesn't believe in flat Earth is considered naive, and the globe believers say that the flat earthers are basically nuts. So I'm wondering what changed, and a flat earther today would tell me I'm naive, but yet 10 years ago they were naive. I mean, is that fair to say, Darrin?
I would say so. Yeah, we look at the term fake news. We just recently heard that.
Yeah, but just because someone doesn't believe in flat Earth yet doesn't mean they're naive, because you were 10 years ago.
Correct.
And 20 years ago and 30 years ago. So, Mike, do you know how long we've accepted a globe Earth?
Since about 500 BC.
Oh. Okay. I guess there's Greek philosophers, Pythagoras, and Socrates, I guess. Some say that they had a flat Earth model, though, didn't they?
The Greeks prior to that did have some sort of a model, but they thought that the sun went through a tunnel underneath the ground at nighttime, because they didn't know that nighttime for them was daytime for somebody else. They didn't have fast communication or fast travel, so they had no idea of time zones or anything like that. So that was their model. Yes, they thought it was flat, and they thought that the sun and moon went underneath the earth. And you see that elsewhere too. You see that in the book of Enoch. It says that it talks about portals. Other ancient cultures that had these flat earth ideas all had some variation of that, because you need an explanation for nighttime, and that was their guess at it.
Isn't there like a hollow earth theory too? Like there was a sun inside the hollow earth?
Yeah, there is. There are some like that. If you see the recent Godzilla movie, I think that kind of was it. But I don't think that's really an actual thing that people really think is the case. I've not actually run into any that I know of that think the Earth is hollow. There are concave Earthers that think that we live on the inside of the sphere. For when flat Earth isn't crazy enough, they go concave.
I think it's amazing or unbelievable that we have to debate this because we're here on the ground. Let's say the ground. We both agree, and we don't know the shape or the terrain.
We do know.
Well, I'm saying that,
some people don't.
Right. But I'm saying
we as a society, we do.
Okay. Well, we congesture it, but we're here and we can't look at both sides. We can't look at the edges, or we can't. It seems like it's we're here. We don't know what's beyond us, and So you say we know that now. The evidence for globe, as far as might go back in time with, I guess both theories could have said it went back in time. So we're both on level playing fields in some of those aspects. But when did we first start showing signs of let's say, more evidence?
Earlier than 500 BC.
And how did they do that?
There's Aristarchus and Aristotle, those two in particular, about 320 BC, both of them, and they talked about things like the shape of the shadow of the moon, the shadow on the moon during an eclipse, being round, and a sphere from any angle is round when you look at it. So a shadow from a sphere would cast a round shadow on something. So that's one thing. Another is they bottom-up obstruction is something that they referenced. Aristotle in particular gets credit for that, though there isn't any real writing directly from him. It's just somebody else later. I think Pliny the Elder gave him credit for it, if I remember correctly.
And then we really had science started getting involved when is that the first time when we had the NASA reports and things like that?
No, way before that. Eratosthenes, using the information that previous people had put together, measured the circumference of the Earth, and that's been repeated many times. And he was about 200 BC. So the measurements that he did, anybody can do any day of the year. He did it on a solstice, but you can do it yourself on any day. But solstices and equinoxes are a little easier because we know with more certainty where the sun is on those days.
How do they do measurements
So we know the distance from any point where you are to the subsolar point. That's well known. It's thoroughly established through celestial navigation that there's 60 nautical miles per degree latitude. So if you are at 45 degrees latitude, then on the day of the equinox, you know that you are 45 degrees latitude north or south if you're in the southern hemisphere from the equator. Multiply that by 60 nautical miles. And then you know the linear distance between you and the subsolar point of the sun. So then you can measure the angle to the sun. That's what Eratosthenes did. And doing some basic trigonometry, then you can test whether or not you are on the surface of a globe or on the surface of a flat plane.
And they have more modern techniques to do that today, or is it the same techniques? Or
things that are available to us, right? We can easily do that. It takes almost no money, and it certainly doesn't require any input from the government or anybody to determine these things.
Have you heard that, Darrin, before? Or?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's people that will say there's a rebuttal to that.
Yes, there is actually. A gentleman by the name of Corey Kell. He's a retired 23-year military artillery veteran, and he performs celestial survey operations with military science using the sun and geometry, and can determine the sun's actual distance using direct sun angle. And he also goes into many other things, such as orbital mechanics for a flat Earth and orbital failure for a planet. So he goes into, it's about an hour and 20-minute video on BitChute. I will definitely provide the link for anybody that wants to review it, because obviously this is the first time I heard about military, military survey. What did I just say? Celestial, whatever. This guy, he knows his stuff, put it that way.
Yeah.
And obviously far more than I do.
Yeah, I can say with zero question that he does not know his stuff. I've watched his entire presentation. He never once addresses the Eratosthenes measurements, so it's completely off topic for this. I'd be glad to review and we can discuss what he talked about after the Eratosthenes topic. But there is no actual flat Earth rebuttal for the Eratosthenes measurements. I've never seen any flat earther ever address the actual geometry of Eratosthenes type measurements.
Because basically he uses this stuff right here, and he says with the measurement of the sun, when you go past like a 45-degree angle, he says it's over with, because the military bases their shooting and everything on this formula here, this military geometry. And this way, and I think it's pretty important, you don't shoot your own men that, so the military, this is what the military uses. I'm just, letting you know.
Yeah. So why are you bringing this up when we're talking about Eratosthenes?
Well, because
he didn't address the Eratosthenes measurement in his presentation. His whole presentation, he never once refuted it, never addressed the actual geometry of it. So it's off topic.
Well, the military does use it, though. They don't. Yes, they do.
They certainly don't. He has no actual idea what he's talking about. Corey Kell is an absolute fraud.
23-year military veteran is a fraud?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, he's not very smart. He has no idea about geometry. Okay. He doesn't apply any geometry in his actual measurements. He doesn't know where the sun should be according to the globe. He did nothing actually from the military. He just used military-sounding words around the things that he did to fool people. And it worked on some people.
It works on me if I didn't know, because, like I said, I'm a layman, and they could pass that stuff off on me, and I wouldn't know whether it was fabricated or not, unless I looked into the detail. Yeah. So, it's stunning to somebody like me. I wouldn't. That's why I can't choose based on some of that, because I don't know. I have a question, Mike. So somebody asked me to ask if NASA has, and maybe they're off on this, but NASA has official documents where models are based on a flat, non-rotating Earth?
Yes, there's actually. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm Mike. So, yeah, there are 44 documents that Nathan Roberts and Pastor Dean Odell have identified as they think that it is some sort of admission. The problem is that all of these things are simply modeling, and so what they're doing is they're making simplifying assumptions. So if you look at these documents, in every one of those, they have a list of their simplifying assumptions. So they do not include the rotation of the Earth. They do not include the radius of the Earth. They do not include typically the wind. They do not include that planes vary their mass during flight. They do not include that planes are asymmetrical. They do not include a whole bunch of things. They list off all of the things that they don't include. So unless you're going to say that there is no such thing as wind, then these documents clearly are not an admission of anything other than telling people how they were actually doing the internal engineering of it.
I have a question that's kind of similar to the maps. I was just wondering to throw out there. When they have pictures of the maps, they always show the continents, the European continents, like blown up, like they look the size of America. And I was surprised to know that all the countries in Europe can fit in like the United States. I was wondering why they do that. Is that?
Yeah, map projections are projections from the globe, and since it's a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional object, it cannot possibly bring the correct sizes into it. So depending on the projection that you're looking at, you're going to get different things that are different amounts of skewing. So if you look at a Mercator-style projection or an equirectangular projection, you're going to get the things north and south farther from the equator are going to be more and more distorted.
One of the rebuttals I heard on the internet, and we can't always go by the internet just because it has answers and stuff. But I've heard about planes; they don't go straight through continents; they travel like from Australia to South Africa, and it passes through India. But then someone came on and says, "Wait a minute! I've gone from Africa straight to, or Australia." Straight to South Africa. We didn't go through India. Your map is skewed or something. They're trying to prove that all the continents are like relatively close and not on a globe. Did you ever hear?
Yeah.
Did you guys ever hear that?
Mm-hmm. In fact, there's a book titled 16 Emergency Landings Proving a Flat Earth. I looked at a couple of them. They look, kind of. It's like, why would they travel in that, that linear passage?
Yeah, but they don't. Is what I'm saying. Is many people fabricated that, and then people that were pilots and people that were passengers both said, "Wait a minute, I got a straight flight from Australia to South Africa, straight across. I didn't have to go through India." That would, it's only if there's a commuter flight do they do that. It's just like here in America. I know that I had to go to Los Angeles once, and there is flights that go straight to Los Angeles, but they drop me down into North Carolina first, and then straight across Los Angeles, and it would be like saying there's no way to travel straight to Los Angeles because that's the path I took. But I don't think that is based on, from what I see about the Australia thing, is people say they go straight through the continents. I don't know.
Yes. So there's they always tend to leave off the existing flights that actually do go straight. Right. So there's QF63 that goes direct Sydney to Johannesburg.
Yep.
It does not cross the equator.
Yeah.
There is Johannesburg to Sao Paulo, SA222. You got QF27, Sydney to Santiago. These do not cross the equator. They're straight flights that stay south of the equator. In fact, they travel farther south because that's where a Great Circle route goes. You've got Auckland to Santiago is LA800. You've got Perth to Johannesburg, SA280. Auckland to Buenos Aires is ANZ30. So all of those flights really exist. Most of them travel more than once a week. So anybody is curious could just go jump on the flight and see if it exists.
Now I got a simple one here for you, Mike, and then Darrin can, of course, collaborate on this. Is that the one question we have about a globe Earth is that the Earth is what, 70? Is that, Darrin? Is that 72% body of water?
72 to 74, say 73% water.
And what do we wonder if how it stays on a globe over the curve and laying flat? Is that what we would ask? Like what?
You talking me or Mike?
Well, you, Darrin, first.
Oh.
If 75%, one of the arguments is that the Earth is made a large body of water. How does it stay on a globe and over the curb and laying flat or level?
Is that? Well, can you see this picture right here?
No.
That's weird. Screen sharing. That's odd. Let me see. It says stop sharing screen. What do you see? Do you see me?
No, I just see black.
Oh, just black. Wow, that's weird. Okay. Well, it's a reflection of, it looks like Chicago from perhaps Lake Michigan.
Oh, yeah, in the dark. Yeah, I see it.
Oh, you do
No,
see it? Okay.
It's just a dark picture. So
yeah, we don't. It's just a blank screen is all I see.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird.
I'm saying it's a picture of Chicago in the night.
What about this one right here? Can you see it now?
No, none of them.
I think something's wrong with your share.
Probably.
He might have shared something before.
Let's see. Raise hand, stop sharing. It says stop sharing, which is odd.
Yeah.
But I do have a picture of, it looks like Chicago from the shore, or actually Lake Michigan. And you can see the water. It's sitting so flat like a mirror. And I'm just wondering if you curve that water, even say 1 arc minute or 1 arc second, and what will happen to that reflection? Would it still be perfect like it is there? well, you can't see it, but.
So are your eyes able to tell the curve of a mirror of 1 degree?
Well, you look at the carnival mirrors. I worked with, my dad owned a glass company, Anton's Glass, from 1975, and I have worked with many mirrors, and when I even slightly bow a quarter-inch plate mirror, ever so slightly, it's so, minutely small, because after a certain amount, it just, what you have, a broken piece of a mirror. So, and I see what happens the second I started bowing it, and if you just put in 8 inches per mile square, what it should be, that curve on that picture, I wish you could have seen that picture, in like the Bolivian salt flats, we have 4,082 square miles, so I'm wondering how, you get a 1-inch rainfall, and you get a perfect reflection of the clouds in that much water. It's like, if the Earth was curved,
Darrin, you didn't answer my question, though.
Okay.
Are your eyes capable of seeing 1 degree of curve in a mirror?
Well, let's see, the angular resolution of the human eye is, what is it, 0.0003 radians?
Question.
I'm just saying.
Just answer the question.
Yes,
are your eyes capable of seeing a 1 degree curve in a mirror?
Yes, you could.
The answer is no. Your eyes are not that capable.
The reflection, though, if you have a reflection that spans out miles and miles, then you're looking at a broad area, and you should see a difference from one end to the other, wouldn't you?
In how many miles between the observer and Chicago?
Well, not the observer. No, it looked like it was about a mile away, but from the left to the right, that's what I think would make sense. Like, if you have just say a picture, I wish you could have seen this picture. It's probably about a half mile from one building to the other, so it's quite a span. And if it was curved at that distance, 8 inches per mile, so 8 inches, still, the reflection was perfect.
You're not doing anything here. How many degrees of curve is on the surface of the water on the globe?
How many degrees for what distance?
Whatever, in the observation that you're talking about.
Well, if it was 1 mile, obviously it'd be 1 degree.
No.
360 degrees. And,
no. 1 mile is not 1 degree.
Oh, wait, what did I say? 8 inches per mile squared. So that'd be 8 inches.
Per mile squared has nothing to do with this topic. How many degrees of curve on the surface of the water on the picture you're talking about?
Well, I have to know the distance and the length. And
you would have to know the distance.
Yeah.
And so did you do the analysis?
Well, it's still just common sense tells me there should be some curve in that water.
Common sense tells me that you need to actually do the analysis. So how many degrees of curve would be on the surface of the water?
It doesn't matter, because you should see it.
It matters.
There would not be a reflection of a perfect. The buildings were lined up perfectly vertical in the reflection.
How did you quantify perfect?
Just by observation, using a ruler, you can just see visually that everything's lined up perfectly from the left to the right.
So you actually put a ruler on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I wish you could have seen this one.
And on the screen.
Whoops.
See, this is the analysis you didn't do in your 7 years of investigation. How many pixels of curve should there be in that photograph?
How many pixels of curve?
Because you didn't actually do the analysis.
I didn't do that.
Told this should be perfect, or say this is perfect, but you don't know how much it actually differs from what the globe prediction is. So you can't actually make a conclusion because you don't know what the globe would be.
Well, we do know the perimeter. Was it 24,901 miles supposedly? I mean, the circumference. Sorry.
Should the globe have in that picture?
How many? What's that?
How many degrees of curvature should there be in that photograph?
There should be some. I know that.
How many?
Well,
don't bring it up if you didn't do the analysis. How many degrees?
Yeah, you're saying there's a curve, so there should be some curve. Whether or not how much it is, it doesn't matter. There should be some curve.
It matters. Because is the photograph that you're looking at capable of actually providing the resolution necessary to measure the amount of curve that there should be? You don't know.
High resolution 4K. It's a 4K photograph. It's exquisite detail. And also, you didn't answer the Bolivian salt flats. We have 4,082 square miles.
Yes.
And it's a perfect. I mean, the clouds above. It's like a mirror image exactly. There should be some curve in 4,082 square miles, shouldn't there?
How far is the observer able to see to the horizon? In the analysis,
3 miles.
3 miles. How many?
Supposedly.
How many degrees of curve in 3 miles?
I don't know actually, but I know there should be some.
then you'd have no clue, and you do not have the background to actually provide any analysis here. I'll tell you how many degrees there are. This is simple. There's 1 degree of curve in 69 miles. Now, how many degrees of curve is there in 3 miles?
Let's see. Well, you just said again, how many degrees in 1 mile?
In how many years have you been studying this, and you don't even know that?
Well, I have common sense to say there should be some distortion in the reflection from above to what's in the water.
0.04 degrees of curvature in 3 miles. How are you able to identify 0.04 degrees of curvature?
Well, we're talking 4,082 square miles, and you get back and you look at it.
To identify 0.04 degrees of curvature in the photo.
It doesn't matter. You should be some curve. There should be some distortion.
How much?
Logically, if you're on a planet, just think.
Logically, how much?
Listen, if you're on a planet and the Bolivian salt flat is 4,082 square miles, and there should be some curve in that huge area, and the reflection above is in a perfect alignment. 3 miles, you said. You don't see all 4,000 square miles from a 3 mile distance to the horizon. The width. With as far as you can see, left to right, back, forward, all the way around you. And how far right to left can you see, based on the you did? Right, well, 3 miles supposedly each way, so it'd be 6 miles total. Okay, and how many square miles would that cone of sight be? 6 miles wide by you. Enough to show that there should be some distortion in the clouds in the water. Much distortion. Quantify that for me. Any little bit. Even 1 arc second of curvature in the water will yield a distorted image on the water. It's that simple. It's common sense. Science did you apply to this? 0. Darrin, you did no science to this. You did no quantitative analysis here. You're just shooting from the hip. You don't have any clue what you're doing. No, that's not true. Anybody will tell you if you curve a mirror even slightly, it's going to change the image slightly. It's a fact. Fact of science. It absolutely, yes. Yeah. And then you can measure it. How did you measure that? Do you go into a carnival mirror and start measuring like this? No, you say this carnival mirror. All you know is it's distorted image. About carnival mirrors. You are making claims about the curving surface of water, whether or not it's there, with 0 actual measurements. Then you're not on a curved surface. Then that's simple because there's no curve in the reflection. 0 evidence supporting your claim. It's your eyes. Your eyes are not qualitative instruments for measuring curve. Your eyes are better than numbers on a map.
Don't we also get that fish lens?
The barrel distortion lens.
Yeah, I mean, like our eyes don't see it as like we get a fish lens distortion and things like that. So,
here I'll tell you this. I have photographs of the salt flats where you can actually see the curve.
Okay. Sure, I'd love to see it because, like I said, I'm looking for truth. Yeah, if you can show me its curve, great.
But here, I'll send you the link there. Can you grab that picture or the link I just sent?
Did you send it through Skype, right?
Through me?
Yeah, Darrin, you can't. For some reason, your share.
Let me see if I can try this.
Yeah, there you go. So scroll down, and you can see there's a photograph of the salt flats in Utah, right there.
All right.
And that one is, you can see the curve there, and the next one down is even a little more curve is apparent there. Then if you scroll up, you can actually see, I have a link to an article in Nature, and then right below that it says read the results here. So that
this one?
Yep, that's the actual measurement of the salt flats in Bolivia. And then if you go back to my page, because that you have to pay for, I have a link to the actual.
I remember Globebusters did address this, and they answered it.
So scroll back up a little bit. All right, right there. Hold on, you went a little too far. It says where it says see the link in Nature. Then below that it says read the results here.
Yep.
So there's the actual topography measurements of the Bolivian salt flats from 2008. In this measurement here, everything is referenced to WGS 84, which is the elevation of the salt flats above the WGS 84 ellipsoid.
Mike, how long is these? How long would that be? Like, say from where we're standing to the mountains, how many miles? Like,
are you going back to the picture?
Yeah, to the picture you sent me. I was just curious.
I don't know the actual distance offhand, but that's the road that goes across from one side to the other. So
looks like at 20 miles, probably, huh?
And it's from a good elevation there. There's a mountain on the one end, and so that's the photograph from the one end. Yeah, so we do see the actual curve of the Earth. So if you are truly a truth seeker, then you would look at that and say, oh, the Earth is curved. But you will have a different response, I'm guessing.
Well, like I said, Globebusters did address this, and they answered it. Unfortunately, I don't have the science background they have, but did you see the most...
Nobody on the Globebusters actually has a science background, though.
Well, they share science.
No, they don't. Nobody on Globebusters has a scientific background. Nobody. Name which one you think has a scientific background.
Well, by using the scientific method of reputability, observation, and measurement, you can verify or falsify evidence.
I asked you to back up your claim. You said that people like Globebusters are scientific. Which one of them is do you think has a scientific background?
Well, I'll give you an example right here.
The name of the person is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Name of the person from Globebusters that has a scientific background.
Well, put it this way. If they use the scientific method...
So nobody. But before you move on, just say nobody. Just retract your claim that people at Globebusters have a scientific background.
Well, Bob Novell, he was, what is he, like, I don't know, you're right, he's not earth science or anything, but he's knowledgeable. He was, I hate to say, you know.
But he did not have a scientific background. Just be clear. He did not.
He knew science, though.
No, he didn't.
Well, I know, but that's like saying, though, I have a research background, investigative degree in what I research, but I get my stuff third hand from things I observe and see and read, and even some scientists just read journals and they follow through with their journals. So not just claiming the scientific journals or things isn't really meaning that you have a scientific background. You might have a knowledgeable intelligence to bring up science or bring up some things that are through observations, but unless you actually have a science degree, you don't have a science degree.
They certainly brought up things like this, but to say that the people that the Globebusters have a scientific background is simply not the case.
Well, their guests often have their guests have them. They often have many guests on.
Ooh, name.
Well, for instance, one lady, she is, I'm going to have to dig it out, but I'll get to that. But they have did you see the most recent video with, it says, the problem with Globers. A man was in Israel, up 128 feet of elevation, had a 5-foot tripod, had a full spectrum thermal imager, and he's seen the island of Crete.
It was not a full spectrum thermal imager.
Or whatever it was, full spectrum.
Check yourself. Well,
it was some type of camera that could see very far, put it that way. Full spectrum something.
A Kodak.
He's seen the island of Crete. 600.
You're just making up stuff.
No, you can watch it.
You're making up stuff.
You can do this. He doesn't want me to get this in because he knows this destroys the planet Earth. I let you talk.
His name is Shimshon.
Okay.
I specifically reviewed the video that he did.
Okay.
It was not a full spectrum. It was simply a camera that had an infrared filter on it.
Okay. Well, okay, it's a camera.
I know more about this topic than you because I know his name, and I know that he was at Ashkelon National Park in Israel. Mm-hmm. What island was he trying to see?
Well, he's seen the island of Crete, supposedly 616 miles away. There should be, they said, 34 miles of curvature.
And what degree, what was the bearing to Crete?
I got to hand it to you. You're scientific. That's awesome. What was the question again? What was the
bearing? That'd be the angle to Crete.
The angle to Crete.
Ashkelon National Park.
Well, they did have the elevation.
It's the video. The bearing. The bearing to Crete is in the video. The bearing is 296.24 degrees.
Okay.
In the same video, Ben from Taboo Conspiracy identifies the angle to the sunset. Now, this is the globe predicted angle to the sunset of 292.46 degrees, a difference of more than 3 degrees. He could not have seen Crete because Crete was 3 degrees away from where the sun set.
Well, they lined it up with Google Earth, and it lined up perfectly.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Google Earth on screen. You did not check what Ben put on screen. I just quoted you the numbers from the screen, from the actual video, from Ben's own video, Ben, Taboo Conspiracy. Crete was 296.24 degrees. The sunset, the globe prediction sunset angle, was 292.46 degrees, more than 3 degrees off. So he could not have seen Crete because Crete was not where the sun was setting. Further, you were indoctrinated by this because you didn't check. The claimed mountains were moving. From the beginning of the sunset to the end of the sunset, the claimed mountains moved to the right in the video, and we know that because there's a gas platform in the video. So you can go from the beginning of the sunset to the end of the sunset, and you can see where the angle changes, or the distance between them changes. So those mountains were both 3 degrees away from Crete and moving. Tells us one thing for certain. He did not see Crete. But you believed it because you wanted to believe it.
Well, no, I don't care if it was Crete or not, but it looked like it was convincing.
You want truth, but you didn't actually look this up. When you saw this video, you just took it as absolute fact, not truth. You just said, this is what I want to believe, therefore it's true.
Or this is what he claims. And,
what he claimed. That's what I said, what he claimed.
Yeah.
So any analysis, you just accepted it blindly. That's called indoctrination.
Well, like I said, there was nothing else that could have been close to it. It didn't look like a cloud to me. It looked like it had rigid points to it, and it looked like the island of Crete. They showed Crete what it looked like, and I'm like, that looks like Crete. So
looks like is your all you care about. It looks like this, therefore I will accept it as absolutely true.
What if we did that? Right. Well, what if we did that experiment ourselves and we could see it ourselves? Hey, there's Crete. Then it would be.
Yeah, but you'd have to do it yourself, and you'd have to know where the data is and know what you're looking at, and you'd have firsthand confidence in your own stuff if you can do it. But the fact that the guy didn't really do it, or you don't know if he did it, we can't use that as an argument. So
now, Darrin, let me ask you this: how far away was he from Crete?
Oh well, he said 616 miles.
Yeah, but that's the globe prediction. Are you using the globe prediction for distance?
I think he was using the flat map, or the flat Earth. I'm sure, or I don't know what he.
There is a globe, there is a flat Earth distance mechanism. What's? I've never seen this before. Actually, he just used Google Earth. Google Earth.
Well, Google Earth
distance based on the Haversine formula, which is a spherical trigonometry formula. I personally tested the distance between Ashkelon National Park and Crete using the Haversine formula, 600 some miles. He used the globe distance prediction for the distance to Crete, not the flat Earth distance prediction. Of course, there is no flat Earth distance prediction. The other problem is, now he used the angle predicted by the globe for where the sunset would be, and of course, that's where it was. He did not use the angle to the sunset based on flat Earth. If he had, he would have had to turn his camera towards the south shore of Turkey. He did not do that. The flat Earth prediction for where the sun should set was dramatically wrong from what he actually observed. So that's yet another debunk of flat Earth, because if the Earth was flat, you would totally expect that the sun would set where the flat Earth predicts the sun would set, not where the globe predicts the sun would set.
Didn't he address that, though? I thought he did.
He didn't even touch it.
So what was he looking at, do you think, that came up in that sighting there?
And he watched the sunset at the angle that the globe predicted, not at the angle that the flat Earth predicted.
But he wouldn't be able to see it, though, if it was a globe. He said 34 miles of curvature would have been blocking it, but there it was in plain sight.
He saw moving clouds. He did not see Crete. He was 3 degrees away from Crete, and they moved. The mountains of Crete are not moving. Do you think that they move? Darrin, do you think that the mountains of Crete move?
That's funny.
I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you?
Obviously not, but I'd have to watch the video again.
So obviously, it could not have been Crete, because the clouds, they're obviously clouds, they move from the beginning of the sunset to the end of the sunset.
Should we go into the sight lines, since we're talking about this, the perspective, like horizons and, the flat Earth explains that ships disappear. Wait a minute. On a flat Earth, the ships disappear on the horizon, and they have an explanation for it. Can we get into that a little bit? Maybe dimensions of bending of light. I don't know what this entails. I'm not in the science of this.
Sure. Well, if there's nothing between the observer and an object, there's no reason for it to be obstructed. So if something is obstructed as it increases its distance across water, then we have a great explanation using the globe. Things are obstructed progressively bottom up as they get farther away. That's what the globe predicts. The flat Earth predicts that you should never have anything blocking you because there's nothing in the way.
Also, they talk about the plane. I've heard this, and to me, this is kind of lame. I don't know if this has to do with the gravity and stuff, but when a plane's flying 30,000 feet in the air, whatever
I think let's come back to that, but okay. You brought up the other one first. I think okay. Darrin should be able to respond.
Right.
Well, I always wondered about like planes, if they're one's traveling east, one's traveling west. Is that what you're talking about? I wasn't paying attention, sorry.
No, not planes. Bottom-up obstruction as things get in farther away.
Mast of a ship and things
like an inferior mirage, superior mirage, atmospheric distortion and refraction, all that?
Yeah.
Well, put it this way. I know if if the Earth was curved, that would work counterintuitive to refraction, because you would have less and less atmosphere, because as it curves down, the higher you go with the atmosphere, the less you would get of it. Whereas since we see the distortion, that implies that the Earth would be flat because you're going through a continuum of atmosphere, thick, dense atmosphere at the lower angle. This way, that allows you to continually see distortion, like we see, like ships, for instance. Whether or not that's true, but it seems like a plausible explanation. Sorry about my voice. I was raking with barefoot, getting the propellers up, and the ground was colder than I thought. And
yeah, so, you sound hoarse tonight.
Yeah, sorry about that, but still, anyway. Yeah. So hopefully that might answer, the question there.
It doesn't. On flat Earth, there's no reason for anything to be obstructed bottom up. There's nothing in the way.
Do flat Earth, Darrin, do some believe that there is a slight curvature?
I'm not sure, actually.
Some do.
Yeah. Concave, a little bit.
Yeah, I've heard.
Not the concave. If you've seen, there's a picture, a diagram that's a square that's got angels on the four corners, and it's got like this swooping toilet bowl kind of Earth. So some think that it doesn't work, because if you're on one side of it, you just look across and see the other side. But,
can I ask you a tough question? How can we see stars in their same location since the beginning of time if we were corkscrewing through space in all different directions?
You do have the documentation of the stars being stationary since the beginning of time.
Well, you look at Orion's belt, or, people...
Sorry, don't backtrack from your claim. You said since the beginning of time. Well, can you send me the documentation of the stars never moving since the beginning of time?
Well, God talks about, or even the Egyptians have the alignment of Orion's belt, and 4,300 years later, they're in the exact spot. So that seems
Can you actually send that instead of just making an assertion?
Well, just look at the pyramids. I can't bring a pyramid over.
But Darrin, did you just blindly believe that claim that some flat earther told you, or did you actually look into it?
Everybody unanimously agrees that Orion's belt lines up with the pyramids. That's why they constructed it.
Okay, so you didn't actually do any investigation. You just were indoctrinated into believing that?
So you don't think the stars? You think they actually move in location?
This is your claim that we're examining right now. You have made a very specific claim that stars have never moved since the beginning of time, and all I'm doing is a simple thing: asking you to back up your claim.
I am, with the Egyptian pyramids, 4,300 years. So to me, it seems.
And what's the precision of that measurement?
Well, they do have what's called starlight shafts that align at a specific. I think it's the equinox, maybe. Don't quote me, but it allows one of the stars in Orion's belt to pass right through with precision, swish-wash accuracy. So if these giant gaseous.
What's the width of that tube?
I can't give you the exact diameter, but it's probably like the size of a straw.
In degrees.
I'm not sure, but it's very thin. It's not like you can drive a truck through it, put it that way.
All right, so you don't have any measurements. I'll send you measurements right now. So there, Jim, could you bring up the measurement?
I'm going to hand it to you, but that's awesome how you're ready.
Hand it to me. I did my research and you did not, Darrin.
Right. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just throwing stuff at you.
Information, and you did not.
But still, don't you admit that this is kind of tough to answer from your perspective?
It's super easy to answer. The stars have moved. They've been documented to move for centuries.
Do I got the right thing here?
How much, though? That's the thing. Because if we're flying through space...
Be clear. You claimed they've never moved.
Well, I mean, from a macro perspective, like you would expect over your model.
You're backtracking now. Got it. You claimed never moved because you just repeated what your Papa Flurf said. I actually looked up the measurements. The stars move. These are nautical almanacs that we're looking at. This one goes, the one that goes to 1850. So in the 1850 nautical almanac, Polaris, this is just one example, but it tracks over about 50 stars, was at 88.5 degrees from the center of the celestial sphere, this pole. And in 2017, it was 89 degrees at 20 arc minutes, which is about a third of a degree, so 89.3. So it moved in that amount of time, documented. But we can go farther back. If you scroll down farther, you can see the Henry Draper catalog there. Polaris in the year 1900 is listed on page 104. So that's a third party that's other than the Nautical Almanac. You can go farther down. You can see Tycho Brahe documented in 1572 where Polaris was. And he identified it as, he measured it to be 86 degrees, 53 arc minutes. So about 87 degrees, so about 3 degrees off of the center of the celestial sphere from the pole. So you have a third party. Then if we go down farther, we can see from Strauch, professor of theology at Danzig University, in 1659, listed at 87 degrees. So we do have documentation of the stars moving over time. So
but is it sufficient?
So my question to you then is, since I've perfectly answered your question, I've totally addressed it by showing that the stars do in fact move. So my question to you then is, where is the documentation of the stars moving for flat Earth? Why would the stars move if the Earth was flat with the dome over top or something like that?
Well, the thing is, from a macro scale, they're rotating, they say, inside the dome. That's why we see them year after year since through millennia, because if we were spinning, wobbling, tilting, rotating, orbiting, traversing, expanding, corkscrewing through space, that tells me common sense that these stars should not be in their same locations after thousands of years. It's just that you're talking talking arc minutes, arc seconds. No, that's
a specific claim. They should not be in the same place. Could you show your quantitative analysis of that you did?
That's awesome. Obviously, I don't have it, but just it tells me that, if we were doing everything I just said.
All you did was repeat your Papa Flurf again.
Right, yeah. But still, doesn't it make sense what I'm saying?
Investigation. 7 years you've been into this and you can't even back up one of your claims?
Well, not technically, where I go in depth, I work and stuff, got a life, but still, when I say that all those things moving simultaneously for millennia, that tells me that
rotation. Show how you did the analysis of it, or somebody. Certainly, some flat earther that you're repeating did that, right?
Well, it's called common sense.
What's called common sense is actually doing the work and then making the claim after you do the work instead of just making an assertion with zero evidence to support it.
Flying around the Milky Way galaxy, flying around the solar system, things wobbling. You got black body radiation to go through. You got exploding supernova shock waves.
Let's see how much you actually did. How much wobble?
For what?
Wobbling.
Wobbling for what?
You said wobble.
You said wobble.
Well,
there's
supposedly supernovas, they emit shock waves, and there should be some, the Earth wobble. Well, that's what the evolutionists say. Your people say we wobble.
It's wobbling, and by how much?
Well, they just say they wobble, so I take their word on it. Your people say it wobbles.
How much wobble?
Wobbles, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. It wobbles.
How often is this wobble?
I like how you're analytical. That's good.
An amount. So how much per time frame? How much wobble?
Well, obviously I don't have that, but they say it wobbles. That should be enough.
You're talking about the Chandler wobble?
I don't know. Just they say it wobbles.
Measure of the equinoxes? You don't even know what you're talking about when you say wobbling.
Well, Weebles wobble, Darrin, but we don't know.
Weebles wobble.
Yeah.
Darrin, you're just quoting your Papa Flirt. He said wobble. There you go. You just parroted him.
They also say it spins, rotates, orbits, traverse, corkscrews. This tells me the stars should not be in the same spot for thousands of years.
You're just parroting your Papa Flirt. That's not what they say. They don't say those things. Your Papa Flirt says those things. Your Papa Flirt is dearth that you're quoting there, right? Dave Weiss. That's what he says.
Oh, he's lost my hope. I've never heard him answer a question. He just basically moves on and asks other questions.
Okay, put it this way.
Dearth knows better than Darrin to never actually talk to me. Darrin made the mistake of talking to me.
No, to me it doesn't really matter. I don't care if we're on a pyramid, we're on an octagon, I could care less, It's fun.
Over to back up his claims, and he will do the same thing as you're doing now. He can't. So here's what is actually happening. The Earth orbits the sun once a year. What's the corkscrew? There's no corkscrewing. That's a once per year orbit. That's not very fast. In that time, there is something measurable called stellar parallax. We have measured stellar parallax. It's rather small, but our instruments are actually capable of measuring much more than the amount of stellar parallax that we've measured. The nearest 6,000 stars have had their stellar parallax measured.
Is that circular geometry, I think, or stellar, or Euclidean geometry, or?
Who's trying to pair it now?
Well, I'm just looking at both sides because this guy debunked what you're saying. He's a PhD in mathematics and astronomy. So
who did? Who's a PhD in mathematics?
I got him right here. I got the links. I'll send you over everything, and as soon as I figure out how to work this Skype thing,
send it to me, and I'll see if I can share it.
He totally debunked what you said about celestial navigation. I'm just telling you.
Well, you just want to send it on the chat, Darrin.
Darrin, I have a $10,000 celestial navigation challenge. It's been up for more than a year. No flat earther has ever been able to do it.
Well, this guy seemed like he explained it.
Well, he can't do it because he would have taken the $10,000. Dan.
Do what celestial navigators do is identify the location of the observer using sextant measurements. No flat earther has ever done it. Yet I can do it in about 2-3 minutes, given the same measurements and a globe.
Well, I'll see if I can get the link there. I'll send it over and,
send it through.
See what you think.
It's going to be great.
We'll keep moving in the meantime, though. So Mike, the sun's, the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour around the sun. Is that what they?
The Earth rotates.
Yeah, rotates.
Once a day, but its angular velocity is 1 rotation per day.
Okay, yep.
So at the equator, the linear velocity is 1,000 miles an hour about. Yep.
And some say, well, how come we don't feel it?
Yeah, there is no part of the human anatomy that can feel constant linear velocity. Unless Darrin knows something about anatomy that actual doctors don't.
What do you think of the Coriolis effect, Mike?
Oh, hold on. Let's. We can change topic after you're uncomfortably satisfied on this one. What part of the human anatomy can feel constant linear velocity?
Constant linear velocity. It's the. Well, they say if the Earth would be analogous to a scrambler. You ever go on one of those amusement park rides?
You don't say that. Your Papa Flirt says that.
No, listen, if we're spinning on our axis and then going around the sun, they say, I'm not saying, but they say, the flat earthers, that it would be a 2,000 mile an hour, but please let me finish talking. I'm kind enough to let you talk. There would be a 2,000 mile an hour fluctuation. He doesn't let me finish. Okay. There's a point when you're on the scrambler when you can actually come to a stop and then you accelerate faster to compensate for that stop. They say there would be a 2,000 mile an hour fluctuation in the speed of the Earth every 12 hours. Whether or not that's true or not, but it sounds, sorry for my voice here.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it sounded good.
So what you've described, Darrin, is called centrifugal acceleration.
Okay.
The centrifugal acceleration at the equator is 0.03 meters per second squared. The downward acceleration due to gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, a significantly larger amount. So the amount of centrifugal acceleration, which you feel on the scrambler, because the angular velocity changes are quite dramatic, where on the Earth, the angular velocity change is rather small.
Good explanation. Yeah, very good.
Let's go to gravity for $200.
Sure.
Jeopardy.
Of gravity. I don't know who wants to take it first from a flat Earth perspective or a.
Well, I know one guy. He's a scientist, and he put out a challenge to say that buoyancy and density were the only two factors that can cause an object to be attracted to the Earth. And he said it was something about 52. He talked to 52 different scientists, and they could not debunk what he said. Although Globebusters said that there seems to be an additional force attracting something, but it could be like a diamagnetism pushdown or something other than gravity, but who knows? It's interesting, but
Well, I know.
Can you see the screen?
I sent gravity measurements. The magnitude of the mass-to-mass acceleration is well understood. I have about 18 measurements. It's a short list of the magnitude of gravity, or the magnitude of the mass-to-mass attraction on my website at mctoon.net/G. So one of the ways that they do this is they very precisely isolate things. So if you look at that particular picture there on the right side, you can see the apparatus that they have. It's all stainless steel or other metals that they particularly use. They demagnetize them. They keep them all at the same electrical potential so that there's no electrostatic attraction or repulsion between them. So the mass-to-mass attraction is well understood, and it matches the law of gravitational attraction, which is the force between masses is equal to the gravitational constant, which is typically used as a capital G, times the mass of one object times the mass of the other object, all over the distance between those two objects squared. So,
isn't there a theory about the demagnetization or a diamagnetism or something? Or you explained it once before.
Yes, dielectric acceleration.
Okay.
That is the one that the Globebusters currently prefer. Typically, they just call it electrostatics, right, and say that somehow electrostatics is at cause. But if you look at that picture there, you can see the top one there. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can look at the other ones. I think the other one, if you click on the other one, you can actually see
Can you see anything on here?
Yeah, a larger view of it. The right there, that 6-up one that has 6 smaller pictures.
Oh, okay.
That one right there. Click on that. You can see this is a different experiment. You can see it's done in an evacuated chamber. The top right shows you the inside of the evacuated chamber. The objects inside are all at the same electrical potential, so it cannot be due to electrostatics, because they're all at the same electrical potential, so that can't cause it. These people aren't just accidentally doing things; they're actually paying very close attention and doing high precision measurements.
Didn't you make a point about if that was true, you should be able to charge a negative charge and bypass gravity? So
some flat earthers, when they claim this electrostatic thing, they say that for some reason they're things that are neutrally charged, which almost everything we interact with on a daily basis is neutrally charged. You know it if it's not, because like a balloon that you rub on your hair, it acts differently when it's charged, right? It'll pull your hair up, it'll stick to the wall. But things that are not neutrally charged, you put it on the wall, it falls off. So there is this, they call this adiabatic charge of the Earth. It's about 100 volts per meter. It's super weak though. So there is a voltage differential, but it's not strong, and it's easy to neutralize. And so basically anything that's there that's touching the ground will neutralize it, like your body, for example. So that entire adiabatic charge is neutralized by your body being touching the ground. But in the vicinity of an electrical storm, that the direction of that electrical field is reversed. If that was the cause of things going down, then in the vicinity of an electrical storm, things would accelerate up. You'd have to strap yourself down, or you'd fly to the roof or the ceiling of your room. Yet we don't see that. So it's very simple to explore this kind of a claim and see that that's not the case.
How would you explain lightning sprites?
They're lightning sprites. What about them?
Like, I know it's a discharge of the electricity from the lightning, but they're high altitude, and the CIA seems to think that there's some type of firmament over us.
No, they don't.
I have the document right here. I can send it to you.
Yeah, it's number one from Nathan Roberts' 44 documents that are...
No, this isn't that. This is direct from the CIA. Let me see if I can get the title for you, the number. Okay, it's CIA. It's got a long number there. It's card number 11, published of February 2062. Put it this way. When they discovered it, that's when Operation... Let's see, what was it? Here it is right here. It was called, Operation Deep Freeze. Discovered the firmament in 1955. And then in 1958, NASA was founded to hide the firmament. That's what they say. So I just went, because I actually have photographs of high altitude lightning discharging way up. And I don't know if that would be the ionosphere, or if it even exists, or stratosphere. I'm not a meteorologist here, so I don't know what the heck the levels are, but I don't know what the height is either. It's way up there, but I did see a rocket come to an abrupt stop. So I'm just curious as, what's causing all this stuff. So I was hoping you have an answer.
Just repeating all the same things. If you spent any time actually watching videos that do address these things, you would have known all of these things already. So the rocket that you're talking about is the Go Fast rocket. It had a yo-yo D-spin. It didn't hit anything. If it did hit something at the speed it was going, it would be absolutely demolished. Things don't slow down as fast as that would have to slow down. It actually was not moving, wasn't moving up and then stopped. It kept going up. But the D-spin is part of a... so when a rocket goes into an area where there's no air, you can't use the fins anymore to guide it. So what they did is they had the fins cause it to spin, so that when it got up higher than the air, which is about 100 kilometers, there isn't enough air for any control surfaces to be effective. It still is being held in vertical because of the gyroscopic spin. Then it has these heavy balls that are on wires, and they release them, and then the wires move out to the edges. And when they move out to the edges, all of the angular momentum goes into those balls, and it reduces the angular momentum of the rocket, and then they actually cut the wires to those weights that are on there, so that it has a much lower spin. That's what's happening. You were fooled into a video that somebody clipped to make it look like it was doing something that it was not doing.
I thought it looked kind of phony, but I do have pictures of lightning sprites, like these high altitude, lightning things hitting something way up there. So it's strange.
Well, send it to Jim and he can put it on screen.
In fact, the CIA admits that there's some type of thing above us exists. That's why, like I said, they started.
Can you send me the
Operation...
link, Darrin?
What's that?
Can you send me that link?
Yeah, my Skype is acting strange. I can't really get anything over right now, but I'll definitely get this over.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Operation Deep Freeze, established in 1955, discovery of the firmament. In fact, I think it was Russia. They sent nuclear bombs to try to break through it. So if we are encapsulated with this firmament, which it seems like we are, doesn't that bring your mind?
Nobody was trying to break through the firmament with nuclear bombs. That's ridiculous.
You can look it up. I think it was Russia. This will bring your spinning globe model to a screeching halt.
No, it won't,
Yes,
because that's not true.
Well,
you will not find anywhere saying they were trying to blow up the firmament with nuclear bombs. They certainly did do nuclear bombs at high altitude, but nowhere will you find any documentation saying they were trying to blow up the firmament. You will only find flat earthers making that assertion.
But what about the lightning photographs? I have tons of them right here of sprites.
Waiting to look at them.
What is the you can't send me the link, Darrin?
I'll get all this stuff over to you too. I can't do it tonight, but I'll definitely.
What's the name of it? What's the name? Read me off a headline
of the report for the CIA.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. You get to it right here.
Just
okay. Approved for release June 15, 2000. CIA RDP 86 dash. I don't know if you want this long number or
RDP 86 what?
86 dash 0051 3R00 1343 72.
Wait. 1343. Okay.
1343 72 0008-3. It's published the 22nd of 1962. Author was some Russian name.
All right. Is this who you're talking about?
Periodical Doc, May 21st, 1955.
Is this what you're talking about?
You see here. It looks like it is, yeah. I mean, I don't have the whole thing, just a segment. But that's why Operation Deep Freeze was discovered, because they discovered this thing in the sky, a firmament. So
I'll send that over to you, Mike, if you want. I'll put it on.
Yeah, I got it.
This blows the doors off being on a planet, I'll tell you right now. No. And then NASA was discovered 3 years later, they say, to hide the idea that we're encapsulated with a firmament, because that speaks in theory of
the only
creation.
people that say that are flat earthers.
Well, it's a fact that there's something above us. It's scientific fact. So, and that throws the planet right out the window.
Right. Well, without the claim of that, Darrin, what? Okay, I want to hear about this firmament projection idea of where the sun is, and Mike, I have a question. Somebody asked me, if the sun's so big and visible in the sky, 93 million miles away, how can we see stars that are even further away? If it's
stellar parallax, all that.
If it's because space is space and nothing obstructs our view, why can't we regularly see Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus?
Well, we
you
can
understand that at all, or?
We can regularly see the planets, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for example, we can see Venus right now. In Minnesota, we can see it for an hour, 2 hours.
There's always a place we can see it, right?
After sunset. Yeah. No, Venus we can't always see because...
No. I said there's always a place that we could see it. Like someplace.
Oh, yeah, not on the Earth.
Right. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when Venus is on the opposite side of the sun as the Earth, we can't see it because
right. Then
a bit bright.
All right.
Yeah,
I got a tough one for you, Mike. Have you explained the inverse square law of light when it comes to the moon?
We'll go right ahead.
Like, obviously you know what that is, the inverse. That's like for every half of the distance from a light object, the amount of light increases by a factor of 4 squared. So if you go 50 miles, it's double, and then 25 times 4, 16, 30. So there should be, according to them, I don't know if it's true or not, 14.7 quadrillion lumens, and of course light is energy. So they say, how could the man on the moon, this guy right here, I don't know if you can see this or not, but how could he withstand all this energy with what he's wearing? Now, he's got like Timberland work boots, some aluminum foil, and a motorcycle helmet. Whether it's true or not, who knows? Like I said, I'm just
none of that's true. The entirety of the moon. Obviously, you didn't do the math there. You're just stumbling through, referencing what somebody else told you. But if you were to take the entirety of the light that we receive from the moon and focus it down onto the one point that was directly next to the astronaut, yeah, that would be a problem. But the surface of the moon is large, and so the amount of light that we get from the moon, we get from the entirety of the surface of the moon. So you need to take the amount of light that we get from the moon, and you need to distribute it in your math that you didn't do, or the other person didn't do, over the entire surface of the moon. When you actually do that, which no flat earther has ever done, you will find that there's no problem at all. And I found that there are actually no flat earthers that can do math very well. There's a couple that can do it, that can kind of stumble around, but there's no, like you said, PhD in math that is a flat earther.
Well, one guy about the gravity, but still, I got a question. The moon glows when you look at it at night, right? It's giving its own light off, right? When I look at this moon right here, that's not glowing. This is just like a rock. Like if you hold up a rock and shine a flashlight on it, that rock is not going to start glowing. It's just going to reflect this, it's going to illuminate, but it's not going to, I should say it's going to
Yeah,
be lit up, and it's not going to give its own light. The moon gives its own light. I just wonder how you'd explain that.
No, the moon does not give its own light. The moon has shadows on it of the craters. If it gave its own light, then you would not see shadows on the surface of the moon.
It's glowing. It glows so much sometimes. I can't even look at it because when I pull away, it's like blind spots.
That gives its own ridiculous to say that the light that the moon produces its own light. It does not.
Okay, now hold up a rock, shine a flashlight on it. That rock is not going to glow like the moon glows.
It will just like the moon.
Everybody out there listening, I know they're going to agree with me. The moon, you look at it at night, it's glowing. It's not being lit up by the sun. It seems like it's glowing. Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous. The moon does not produce its own light.
Does this look at right here? Look at this moon. Does it look like it's glowing right here? No.
You're looking at a very small portion of the moon. You're not looking at the entirety of the moon.
It's not glowing.
How is this difficult? This isn't a challenge.
Yes, it is.
Well, how is it, Darrin? If it's glowing, like you said it's a projection glowing. Why isn't it glowing off the astronaut there in the picture?
Right. Good point. Yeah. Some say it's plasma based. You ever heard the electric universe theory? And
it's not plasma. It has surface features that have been the same for centuries.
Well, that's what they're saying. Plasma based. Yeah. These guys some of them are smart.
Who don't know what they're talking about are saying.
Then how can you
look at the moon through a P1000 like I've done? P1000 is the flat earther camera of choice.
Right.
I have one. I've got photographs of the moon. I've looked at it in video. You can see the shadows from the craters.
Right.
It cannot be producing its own light and still see shadows from craters. That makes no sense.
Well, it still looks like it's glowing to me when I look up at night. It's just because it's so bright, like
I know,
full moon.
Darrin, we can't go with illusions of how it looks to us. We have to go by facts on what it actually is.
Right.
So we got to be careful of conjecture.
Science does work with when you observe observation, and I observe the sun is glow. It's like really
observation
bright.
is also observation and testable too, and you have to test the theories with math and science and
true.
On a flat Earth, the projection theory, Darrin, have you heard the projection theory that the planets don't exist? They're just like...
Oh, it's pathetic. I built my own telescope, and I've seen Jupiter, I've seen the moons, I've seen
well, they're saying
galaxies.
that some flat Earthers don't believe there's any planets. Planets don't exist. Is that right, Mike? They believe that they're projections?
Yeah, there's a lot of different...
Oh, okay. So that's kind of just widespread.
That's one of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And they wonder, what's projecting them? Why is it always? They're always round, even if they're projected.
What's it being projected from? What's it being projected on? Who set up the projector? Yeah. Where is the projector? None of these are ever answered. It's just, it could be. Sorry, science doesn't work with it. Could be. You can have a hypothesis based on it could be, but then you need to go and test it.
Right.
And if you can't actually go test it,
more than observation,
it could be just falls apart.
Right. I have a question for you, Darrin, because this is one of my hang-ups for flat Earth, and the Bible says as far as the east from the west.
Remember your sins no more.
Yeah. Yep. Now, if the east and the west are far, it means they're opposite directions. I have a problem with direction on a flat Earth. We seem to think that north and south can be explained by there's no North Pole, South Pole. There's a north center, and then the parameter is the south. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. Wherever you go on the flat Earth, they say you'd run right into Antarctica.
Everything's south. Okay. Well, where the heck is east-west? I can't figure that out.
Well, you have to be like in a circle, wouldn't it? You have to circumnavigate in a circle.
So north-south is diameters, straight line diameters. East-west is circular. That doesn't really hold.
Well, east from the west,
which way
from Scripture, of course, you'd have to go like the ships do. They circumnavigate, always having their needles pointing to magnetic north. Even though magnetic north moves, I think it's moving like 25 miles a year towards Russia, but otherwise, it's still you're going to have to keep angling to get your...
Well, I can't figure out where the rotation of east-west is. If north-south are opposite from each other, where's east-west?
Jim, I don't actually have an issue with this for flat Earth.
Okay. I can't figure that out.
If they what they say about flat Earth on the azimuthal equidistant map is
projection map.
It is a projection from the globe. So this is it here.
Okay.
So at any one point, east is one direction and west is one direction, which is perpendicular to north and south.
I thought they say north and south is... Oh, what?
So they say north is towards the center of the disc, and south is away from the center of the disc.
Okay.
And then east and west are perpendicular. But yeah, when you move to a different location, say you move over to here, from the dot that you were on, you see, I don't know if you see that dot or not, but
I can.
you move to it, part way around. Well, then east and west are no longer the same as they are here. They're 90 degrees from each other there.
And
it's
what's
actually
north?
fine.
And what's northwest?
North is still towards the center, and
Northwest.
Northwest would be an angle relative to where the current version of north is.
Huh? I can't picture that.
That's actually okay.
Yeah.
That there's not. If this were correct, which it's not, but if this were correct, then that would work.
Mike, my one big hang up, and you actually agree with the flat Earth on that one.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that.
Okay. I really don't have anything extra intelligent to say, I don't think. So if you guys want to just sum up something here.
You know science. I got to commend you on that. It's awesome. Really. Very good.
Mike, you got anything to sum up? I mean, besides what you think about flat earthers, don't mock.
Well, I'm not gonna diss on flat earthers here.
Okay.
So I hear all the time, flat earthers always want to give their come to Jesus testimony. I couldn't disprove flat Earth, they say. It's easy to disprove flat Earth. The sun could never set. I personally measured, assuming flat Earth, the elevation that the sun must be if the Earth was flat. I got a different answer every time of the year, but on the equinoxes, about 3,000 miles high. That matches with what Samuel Rowbotham said, and what Wilbur Voliva said, and what Eric Dubé says about the elevation of the sun. They all say it's somewhere around 3,000 miles. It varies a bit. But let's take that. Let's say it's 2,000 to 4,000. The sun could never set. It doesn't matter how far away the sun is from you, the sun would always be visible. In fact, if you take this map, which some flat earthers say
any angle, right?
Yeah.
I can answer that.
This is the map. Okay. But let's put it here, right? And the sun is at some point here above it. There's no point on the entire Earth where you would not see the sun due to perspective. Perspective tells us how high something should appear based on how far away it is from you.
Darrin?
That's the angular lines, like the convergent lines. One lady actually set a book on her, I think it was her kitchen floor, very level tile floor, and she set the camera down on the floor. The floor blocked the bottom of the book.
It is, well, first of all, I saw that video. There's a thing on the floor between the rooms, a transition. But are you claiming that the flat Earth sun is actually touching the flat Earth ground? Or are you agreeing that it must be some distance above the ground?
Well, first, there was more than one video. It wasn't just the floor. There was one on it was a table that with Rob Skiba, the late Rob Skiba. He did that too. So there's nothing obscuring it. They set the camera down, and because of the way some type of convergent lines, they go like this, that the bottom ones will automatically block out the bottom part of a flat surface. It'll look like there's a curve.
So you're saying that the sun is literally touching the ground?
No, it's not touching the ground.
Where does it literally touch the ground?
Never touches the ground.
Okay, so then why would you bring that up?
Because, like I said, it would be analogous to the book or whatever being blocked out by the table.
The book is touching the ground. The sun is not touching the ground, according to you. The sun is many thousands of miles high, according to the measurements that I personally took.
Well, I believe you.
From flat Earth. So, if the sun is 2,000 miles above the disk here, what's causing it to be obstructed?
Those lines.
What lines? There's no line.
Convergent lines. There's
no such thing as that. That's all nonsense. None of that
makes sense. I watched the video. I couldn't debunk it.
I watched it. I debunked it. It's easy that the sun could never set. From the southern tip of South America, right? On the day of the December equinox, or solstice, sorry, that's when the sun is closest to it at midday, because it's over the Tropic of Capricorn. And then the farthest the sun is ever away from the southern tip of South America is on that same day, but 12 hours later, where the sun is over the Indian Ocean here, in the middle of the night, according to South America, the southern tip of South America.
Okay.
I did the actual application of perspective, the convergence lines and all that stuff you're talking about. The sun could never be less than 10 degrees angular elevation above the horizon. Could never be less than 10 degrees. The sun could never set. It's that simple. There's nothing in the way. The sun is super bright. It's not sitting on the ground. It's not analogous to laying a book on the ground. It could never be hidden by anything other than being inside or having a tree in the way.
Well, could it be also because of the angular resolution of the human eye, perhaps, or it could be because of a limited light flow attenuation from the sun? Because it doesn't illuminate forever; it's just a localized area, and so it's just going to go less and less. I don't know. That's what they're saying.
I know you don't know. That's just
like
and if it went too close to the ground, wouldn't it melt the outside border of the south ice?
Certainly, so there'd be all sorts of things.
That's a good point too. Yeah.
Because I always thought about that. That's another hang-up I have.
Yeah.
If the sun is so far out the edge so we can't see it at certain times, then why does the south wall still stay up? So that's my simplistic way of doing it.
I know people in the southern hemisphere, flat or fear, whatever you believe, they say they can actually literally watch the sun move across the sky, and it goes faster in the southern hemisphere, quote unquote.
Doesn't.
Yes, it does. You can actually. I watched it on video. It wasn't time lapse or anything in the relation to the north, so I couldn't debunk that. So.
I saw a video, Darrin. I saw a video of a guy. He showed the first man suit with wings. That man can propel in the air and flap the wing spans, and he got up in the air, and they put it on all over video, and people were like saying, "See, man can fly. We do have we can put wings on." But they realized that the wingspan that man would need would be so big that couldn't be true. And they finally, the guy that filmed it said, "Yeah, I was practicing CGI and I kind of forged that video and made a hoax about it." So, we can't believe everything we see just because.
Kind of like NASA with their what is it? The glider that comes in. It's supposed to be a glider. It's the space shuttle. Yeah. The wingspan should be about like 5 football fields.
Don't make a claim without the quantitative analysis to back it.
True, that's a good point. But if you just logic and reason, you look how small those wings are, and gliders with that much weight needs to obviously be bigger. I don't have the math for it.
No, I know you don't.
Right, obviously, but still, common sense. I do have common sense. Those wings need to be bigger for a glider. Look at gliders, and somebody gliding, have them have 3 foot wings on each side. All right, I challenge you to jump off a building with 3 foot wings and glide down.
All right, okay.
Well, I got one for you. This is a tough one.
Right.
When Globebusters, they were in Nevada, and they're going up with a private rocket, and they seen the moon in the video, but they had the date and time in the inside on the radio. They didn't realize it until afterwards. At that time, the moon was supposed to be over, I think it was Australia, but there they were in Arizona, like on the other side of the world, but the moon was in plain sight. I was just wondering how you'd explain that.
You're talking about the Go Fast rocket again.
No, not the Go. They were going to send it, but this is something different. In the video, you could see this wasn't from the Ghost. No, this wasn't from the rocket. Wait, was it? Yes, it was. It was from a rocket. No, it was a different. I don't know what rocket it was, but I know that they seen the moon in the sky with the sun, and the moon was over in the air, but it was supposed to be over Australia when they could see it. The rocket was in Arizona.
We got to figure out which rocket, Darrin. So it
doesn't matter what rocket it was, what the name was. That's irrelevant. The moon should have been on the other side of the planet, but it was over. You do date and time, and you'll see at that date and time what they seen on the radio in their car was it was supposed to be over, like I said, Australia at that date and time, but you could see it right in the sky with the sun.
It's not hard. About half of the Earth can see the moon at any one time. About half the Earth.
Right.
Australia and California or Arizona are close enough that there are many hours of the day where they will be able to both see it simultaneously.
It should have been closer to the horizon, though. They're saying it was right up, way up high, too close to be for the angle for Australia.
And you know what they did not do?
What's that?
The quantitative analysis.
All right. Well,
still, it's just they went into the science.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. The moon was supposed to be on the other side of the planet, but there it was right up on top in the flat surface.
I mean, I know
You
the
keep claiming the
globe-
science, Darren, and it's like they didn't do the analysis. So we have to kind of throw that out because they haven't really done the science. They claim it's science, but they haven't really proved it. So we have to be careful on that.
I got a good one for Mike. One more thing.
Okay.
You're familiar with Rob Skiba's Chicago, It's Not a Mirage, right? When they filmed the Chicago skyline from the
I'm
shore of
even
Lake
familiar
Michigan.
with that one.
Right. What they did was they claim it's an infraction or, whatever, it's some type of, mirage. But what Rob did was they got in the boat and they filmed it the entire way, proving it's not a mirage. It didn't flip in the camera. It remained right in the camera the entire 60 miles.
It's not a mirage, actually.
Right. Okay.
It never was a mirage. The weatherman that said it was a mirage was just wrong. It's not an actual mirage. It's due to refraction, yes, but it's not a mirage. So a mirage would be where you have an inverted view typically. It would be an inferior mirage where you see an upside down version of it. A superior mirage is less common, where you see a non-inverted view of it. But neither of those are the case. It's just basic refraction.
Okay,
So
but the thing is,
at no time should during his boat ride, should any of it have done anything different than what he saw?
refraction would not be an adequate explanation for watching it the entire time, and until he got right up in front of the city, and there it was. It did not change at all during the entire thing in the camera. There, they were able to see it.
Darren,
Was that?
you know what I'm going to ask for?
Oh boy!
Analysis, and I've seen
Don't do it, Darren.
The analysis is the camera.
Don't
Watching it with your
do
own
it.
eyes.
Don't do it.
Skiba was an actor. He did not have any mathematical background. He
That's not a good answer. I don't accept that. If you can watch something the entire time and it doesn't flip, invert, pop up, disappear, that tells me
not flip.
it's not.
Does not predict that. You are making up things about what the globe should do that it should not do.
It didn't refract. It just remained perfectly an image the entire time.
Determined that there was no refraction involved.
Just with your own two eyes. You're seeing. That's part of the
eyes are not instruments that are possible of determining whether or not refraction is happening. Our eyes are completely fooled by refraction. In fact, the glasses that I'm wearing right now make things look better due to refraction. I could not know that if I never wore glasses and I just looked like this, I would not know, oh, refraction is happening.
Okay, what would appear then if it was refraction? What would it have done in the camera as they were watching the city the entire way? What would it have done? Refraction.
With refraction,
yeah.
you would have seen it for farther than if there was no refraction.
Farther than if there was no refraction.
Yeah,
Okay.
so farther away you would have seen it. And so when you look at things from the Michigan dunes, from the shore of the Michigan dunes, you do not see the entirety of the Chicago skyline. You do not see Lakeshore Drive. I've been to Chicago. I've driven on Lakeshore Drive. I know what it's. I know that road is right there next to the lake the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it. In fact, in Skiba's video, he zooms in on the Willis Tower, and you only see the top of the Willis Tower. You don't see the bottom of it. You don't see the neighborhood.
I could see small buildings in the picture. You can see
when he was on the shore, on Michigan side. He has a video where he zooms in and then you can see people walking in front of it. You can see a boat go in front of it. You only see the bottom of the Willis Tower. There is zero explanation for that for flat Earth.
Well, the analogy of the book on the table, how the lines block out the bottom part.
There's no actual physical explanation for how that works.
You should not be able to see the tower itself, because if you do the formula for the curve of the Earth, that should be about 2,100 feet of curvature in 59 miles. But the Willis Towers, I believe it's 1,900 feet, meaning there should be 200 feet of water over the Willis Tower.
But if that's didn't do the math, you're just parroting.
8 inches per mile squared. You can figure it out yourself. 59 miles comes out to about 2,100 feet.
The problem with that formula is, do you know what the problem is?
Let's see. Well, because it's supposed to be for a parabolic curve, 1,000 miles, which is the limit, but this
problem
goes within 1,000 miles. I don't know, what is it?
The problem with that formula is that you have no way of including the observer height in that formula.
It was level with the lake.
So
watch the video.
half of the lens was obstructed by the water, because that's the only time that formula is accurate.
The water. Okay, right. But still, the top of the building should have been under 200 feet.
Still, you have to use the correct formula.
8 inches per mile squared.
Wrong formula.
These guys were into science. They know what they're talking about. You cannot say you can see almost.
Who is into the math?
They knew what they're talking about. Put it that way.
So you can't even name the person.
Oh, Rob Skiba and his friends. I didn't care about memorizing their names. I have more important things to do.
He did not understand the math. He got the math wrong. 8 inches per mile squared is the wrong formula because it does not have a way to include the observer's height.
They factored that in. That's why I'm bringing this up.
It did not.
Yes, they did. Just like the guy in Israel, about 128 plus the tripod, they figured all that stuff.
Back to Crete.
Well, I'm just saying, just use an example. They factor in all that stuff.
You can't use
the tripod.
We got to be careful. You can't use a faulty example to bring up evidence.
They did use the tripod height. Believe me, they did this stuff. They did their homework. That Willis Tower should be underwater, and there's almost the whole thing in plain sight. You have no answer for that one.
When you actually do the math, when you actually apply the globe math, not the we don't understand the globe math, you actually find out that you should see the top of the tower. According to the globe. Rob Skiba just did the math wrong. Every flat earther ever just does the math wrong. When you actually do the math right, then you see it. The problem is now, Darrin, is there is no flat earth explanation for the bottom-up obstruction. You just have kind of vague concepts and buzzwords. You can't actually provide a mechanism that explains why something would be obstructed if there's nothing between you and the tower. There's nothing for flat earth, between the camera where Rob Skiba was and Lakeshore Drive, yet you could not see Lakeshore Drive. What's the explanation based on empirical measurements in science for why that is not visible?
They say convergent lines. They go up like a whatever you call it. They just start like this, and when you get to the bottom, they're going to block out the very bottom, just like the book on the table.
So just buzzwords.
Well, it's science. They use scientific methods of repeatability, observation, and measurement.
Just said buzzwords, and you repeated the buzzwords.
Well, just saying what they did, and it made sense, and I couldn't debunk it, so.
I just debunked it.
He did. I couldn't. You couldn't.
No.
Scientific explanation for what's causing the bottom-up obstruction.
What you're basically saying is Lake Michigan is flat because that's where we can see most of the Willis Tower.
No, I'm saying Lake Michigan is definitely curved, and the reason why we can be assured that Lake Michigan is curved is because the city is obstructed bottom up.
Because the convergent lines.
No, that's just a buzzword.
The book on the table got blocked out when the camera was set on the table.
Buzzwords.
No, it's fact. They use scientific. I couldn't debunk it. That's all.
They didn't. I just debunked it.
You can do that trick. You can do that with your own self. I ask the people at home, set something on a flat surface, really long, get your camera and sit it down on the table and see if you can see that entire object. I'll bet you can't.
I have. And I can see the entire object.
No, when they set it down, I couldn't see the bottom. I watched it with my own eyes.
Videos that you saw probably had the edge of the table in front of it.
No, they said they had another camera watching that camera, and it was well beyond within the range of the table.
You could see the edge of the table. They're all just like this, right?
No.
So here's the table. Here's the object on the table over here, and here's the camera that put it right here, so you can see the edge of the table.
No, they set it right. You can see it. You can see the camera was on the table. The edge, it wasn't the edge. Honestly, I'm just.
I'd love to see this video.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'll send all this stuff. It can't be tonight. I got stuff to do, but definitely I'll send this stuff
it on
over
the
to
chat,
you.
and he can take a look at it. All right, let's send it there. Darrin, give us a representation of a website that you want them to see.
Okay, probably Globebusters.
Globebusters.com.
Is it? .com.
All right, so that's good enough. Don't give them the other one. And Mike, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
You can find me on YouTube. MCToon Live is my channel where I debate flat earthers. I have one coming up later tonight. And then I do regular pre-recorded videos on my Conspiracy Toons channel. Toons is spelled with a Z. Those are the two places. As you see I mentioned earlier, MCToon.net is my website, where I just have references to different things that I use from time to time.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
I appreciate that, Darrin. Thank you for bringing the representation of flat Earth. I couldn't even do that. And Mike, thank you very much for your knowledge in the globe, Earth, and defense of that. And I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks, Darrin. It's good
Definitely.
talk.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Mike. Really, great job, and looking forward to more of your stuff.
All right.
All right.
Great. Thanks.
Awesome.
I just want to tell people that if they're going to want to see all the visuals, I'm going to try to put this up on YouTube. So you should be able to watch some of the visuals we were talking about, hopefully, and that'll give you a little bit of a perspective. As you can hear, there was a passionate debate between both of them. People have their cases made and their beliefs for each of their views. I still don't have a determination to support it, so I'm not going to make a conclusion besides to say whether the earth is round or whether the earth is flat. The Bible says that there'll be a new heaven and earth. So either way, it'll be destroyed or changed. It's a moot point. So that's my perspective. My website is jimdukeperspective.com. Check it out, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and listening.